Hello. Welcome to my office. I've moved a few things around and it's nothing major. It's the same space. I've just made it more accessible where I can sit at my desk and pivot and talk to the camera quickly. Versus before I kind of had to move stuff around, stand up. Now I've made it a little bit more accessible. I don't know. It's just my office. But I was testing the new setup and I started doing this and like test 1, 2 and then I realized that's kind of a lame way to test a setup. Let me just record a video. So I have a thought, a frustration that's been rattling around in my head that I wanted to share. And I thought, man, I don't have a script. Again, this is off the cuff. It's late at night. I'm in a shirt I was wearing while I was staining some shelves earlier. This is just a test. That way, if you don't like what I'm about to say and it's kind of offensive or frustrating, I can just say, well, it didn't mean anything. It was just a test video. It may as well have been me saying 1, 2, 3, test. Or if it resonates really well and people like what I'm about to say, then I'll cut all this out and just pretend like it was a really well-structured thought that I had been researching and sharing about for a while. First, let me do this. Okay, again, this is a test. I think that's better. I guess we'll see in the edit. I do not like where we are at with Christian YouTube. And I'll unpack that a little bit. In fact, thought it was here. No, this is an instruction manual for something, but what I was going to pick up was my Assemblies of God minister license card that I got in 2008 when I passed the test, became a credentialed Assemblies of God minister. It's 2008. That's a while ago. That's 18 years ago. This year, I lapsed those credentials, so I'm no longer credentialed within the Assemblies of God, and that's another video for another time. There's a reason for it, other than I didn't pay my renewals and I'm not working at a church. I held my credentials throughout different seasons of life, while working at a church, while not working at a church. Obviously, I've remained steadfast in my faith. I've not changed my beliefs, but just the credentialing. I say all that to say, I was going to say I've been in this game for a long time. It's not a game. I've been not only a Christian, but I've been a educated, licensed, it just sounds slimy, leader in the Christian world for a long time. And that is kind of, that duration of my time as a pastor, as a minister, has been during the advent of YouTube. If my memory serves, I think YouTube came out in 2004 or 2006. So line that up with when I graduated Bible school and then became a pastor, 2008. YouTube at first was just this platform to share sermons. It was kind of like with podcasts, right? You would just share a recording of whatever happened on Sunday. There was not really an extension of the ministry. There was not really this subculture or this parachurch ministry culture within YouTube. And when that started to emerge, I'll say maybe 2010s to 2012, we started to see these Christian teachers really take YouTube in a different direction as far as ministry, right? They would create theological content. They would create interviews. They would create teachings. I remember one pastor that I followed, he would do these whiteboard drawings and unpack scripture, just him and an iPad circling verses and translating the Greek, and just really dynamic content. There's a couple of really well-known ministries that I've been following since their origin, and I've watched this in real time, where they started off with kind of this true north compass of, hey, we're gonna teach people the Bible. We're gonna treat YouTube like it's a mission field. We're going to not just focus on pastoring our church, pastoring this one local congregation, but we're actually going to teach people the word online on YouTube, right? And it's been amazing. So this launched, and my discouragement, my frustration right now with the culture of Christian YouTube is we are now, and I'm not a part of the ecosystem. I don't create content on YouTube with a teaching mentality. I don't necessarily have a ministry that I run on YouTube. Nothing like that. However, maybe maybe there will be something I do as a result of this frustration. I've read that, I think there was a book years ago I read called Holy Discontent, where the driver of that book was the things that frustrate you, God put in your heart so that you could help fix or change the way they're expressed on the earth. I don't know. Maybe this video is just for Luke. Who knows? Maybe I'll do something with this. But the frustrating thing that I see is we are no longer creating YouTube content. I'm generalizing. Most of what I see, Christian YouTubers are no longer creating YouTube content to equip and train people to know God better, to know the word better, to rightly divide the word, and to equip people for ministry. They're now creating content that the algorithm likes. This is why you see these thumbnails everywhere. If you're in the YouTube algorithm for Christian YouTubers, you see thumbnails where people look like this. And then next to it, there's text of like a scandal in Christendom. Mike Bickle did this. Robert Morris said this. Chris Valentin did this. And it's all this clickbait. And they all have this confusing face because there's actually stats on this. Open mouth, confused look gets more clicks. So if I were to do a thumbnail for this video that just looked like this, or let me close my mouth, that would not get as many clicks as like a frustrated, which maybe I should, I don't know. Maybe that's a whole other, again, this is just me on the, this is what you get when I don't have notes. I don't have thoughts that have been put in an order. I don't have bullet points. I didn't get ChatGPT to write anything for me. I just am irritated. And so here we are. And I say that because I've participated in some of these. I've produced pieces of content that do this. Now, not as a whole, I've not leaned into it, but I have done it. And I've also produced content that just teaches things. And every time, I think I've posted 3 pieces of content that have been kind of clickbaity, calling out pastors, talking about the latest Christian scandal, for lack of a better word, a Christian TMZ. Anytime I've created a Christian TMZ piece of content, it has almost like 10-1 outperformed any of my other content. Did a thing on Dante Bowe with Maverick City. Did a thing on on TikTok. I did a thing on Jeremy Foster from Hope City Church. And then was there another one recently that I did? I don't remember. Oh, I did one on Sean Bowles, but that was a little different because I had taught and ministered some of Sean Bowles' material, and that was not as much like a, hey, look at this juicy story about Sean Bowles. It's more like, hey, I taught this to a lot of people. I endorsed this very publicly for a very long time, posted about his books, gave his books away, and I need to recant that. So that was a little different. Back to my thought. I've posted Christian TMZ content and it performs very well. Now what we're seeing is everybody realize this, that if I were to post a video teaching a theological framework, what is going to happen in the end times? Why did Ananias and Sapphira get struck down in the book of Acts for lying? What are some different views on the way the rapture is going to take place? Did creation happen in a 7-day week, or were the days different and we actually watched God create the world in 1,000 years? What's the difference between justification and sanctification? What does the Bible say about mental health? How do we have empathy for people that are struggling and yet maintain scriptural boundaries and standards? Can you be a Christian and have tattoos? Can you be a Christian and fill in the blank, right? Those videos, if I were to create a video about any one of those, YouTube's algorithm, it's not as sexy. It's not as clickbaity. It would not work well. And now we're seeing these ministries that I've followed and loved for years. One of them, literally, within the first year, there's a very, very popular YouTube channel that has exploded within the past few years. I was an early guest on their show before anybody knew who they were. This was like 2017, 2016 maybe. I loved the movement that was happening of all these parachurch ministries being birthed on YouTube, but now it's like Mike Winger's leading the way, and everybody's realizing, from Ruslan to, I mean, you can name all the channels, Wake Up and Win. Like, there's all these podcasts out there that have built a ministry on clickbait, on being TMZ, and there's scriptural justification on both sides of the aisles, right? I think it was, I've been thinking about this, so although I maintain I do not have notes, this was a scripture that I read because in my head, I argued both sides. Because, well, one side would say, we need to call out prosperity gospel, false doctrine, pastors who are living in sin, people who platform those in sin. We need to call that out, right? There's verses for that, right? There's scriptures for that. Like, take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. That's Ephesians 5. Nothing is hidden that will not be made manifest, nor is anything secret that will not be known and come to light. There's just a lot of other scriptures I could bring out to justify this. Well, we got to talk about Kenneth Copeland. We got to talk about Benny Hinn. We got to talk about Bill Johnson, because they're deceiving believers, and we need to make that known. I get it. I get it. And then there's other sides of this in my head as I'm arguing with myself. There's other sides that would say, the classic one is, I think it's in 2 Samuel or 1st or 2nd Kings, touch not the Lord's anointed. This is the one that gets used the most when we're told not to criticize mega pastors or ministries, right? Don't touch the Lord's anointed. That's a whole other thought for another time. It's like one of my least favorite justifications for that, or arguments for that. But there is some New Testament truth of, hey, don't bring accusations into the public. My phone's telling me to go to bed. Don't bring accusations against people into the public eye. Do it privately. Submit to the Lord's authorities that are in place. Don't resist leadership that God has established. Do not revile God or curse the ruler of your people. That's Exodus 22. Titus tells us to be subject to rulers and authorities, be obedient, slander no one. So I could sit here all day and argue both sides of the aisle. I'm not here to do that. I do have very strong opinions on the right approach to this. I'm just discouraged of the overall state of Christian YouTube. That's it. That's the whole point of this video. I was going to just snap my fingers a few times, blow, test, 1, 2, blow on the mic and make sure to play with the lights here. Okay, that's really bright. This is all I was going to do. Okay. And then I just thought, let me just do this. Let me just talk about this. I don't know. Maybe I need to go, hey, I'm going to be the change I want to see in the world, and let's do a 6-minute sermon video series or something. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know if I have time for that, but it could be something to say, hey, I just wish we had a simple, I love social media. I make my living off of social media in multiple ways. But sometimes, man, the algorithm, we're creating content for a machine that is killing us. Anyway, welcome to my test video. Follow and subscribe. I'm going to be doing an expose on Mike Todd next week. I'm kidding. But if you like this just rambly stuff, let me know. Maybe this post will hit the algorithm the right way, and then all that I will do is late night rambly word salad content. Who knows? Hey, thanks for watching. Everything's working, I think. What do you think of the new setup? I gotta fix those. I'm just noticing I gotta fix those light bars. I gotta clean up my shelf. I don't know if you can see anything on my desk. I guess if I moved, you could. I don't know if I like that Stream Deck thing there. I don't know. We'll see. I got some work to do, but this was a good test. And thanks for watching. See you next time.